Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm here with myself, Michelle Desrochers, and Amelia Pisano. We are broadcasting live via the International Public Radio on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. Tonight, we welcome Mark Fiorentino back to the show, and he will be discussing the cosmology theory, the Big Bang, black holes, and geez, a whole lot of stuff that I can't even pronounce. But it was a lot of fun last time, and it's going to be good again this time. So for all you science geeks out there and brainiacs, this is right up your alley. In order to participate in tonight's show, you can go to any of the network's Facebook pages. You can come to the UFO Paranormal Radio and International Public Radio YouTube pages. Subscribe, of course. But of course, we're also simultaneously going on Twitch and Twitter. So you can find us at 8 different places, at least for video. If you want to join into the chat, we will be able to see it in the comment section. However, if you're looking to have chat dialogue, sorry, you'll have to go to the UFO Paranormal Radio Network for that on YouTube. So go on in there and get yourselves all settled for that. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to learn something because I know absolutely nothing about any of this.
I'm going to learn a lot because I know zero.
Same. Okay. So I'm just approving your stuff if it's come through.
No
Tag
problem.
Me. Okay.
Hope everybody's doing well. I haven't put myself in the chat yet. Just give me a second, but welcome if you are in there. Remember that the only place that we can interact with you is on YouTube. Just hit an @ and my name beside it, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions if you have any. And if you want to comment and put your 2 cents in, we'll even take 5 cents. So just come on in and say hi. 5 cents.
There we go.
We'll take 1 cent.
And if you're from
whatever.
Canada, we actually take dollars and $2 in coins. How about that?
Soon to be 5, I'm sure. Unless we get what I hope we do, that they put Terry Fox on the $5 bill. If they do that, then we'll be carrying that bill for a while. I'd like to go back to $2 bills or just get rid of $2 altogether, honestly. Hello, Wayne. Seriously. Hey. There's too many coins, and it's great for the government because nobody wants to carry that change. It's great for anybody in the adult entertainment industry because you can't throw coins at ladies and gentlemen. So, it's no longer the dollar bills in Canada. If you're coming here for adult entertainment, you got to be throwing them $5 bills. Just saying. But
just saying. I'm going to leave that one right there.
Yeah. You know me, I always have to lighten up every moment. But so that'd be it, but I hope they do. I hope they put Terry Fox on that $5 bill. I think he deserves a place.
Our money is very colorful. I remember the first time we came out with our new, really colored money, and I was in the States. I was in Pennsylvania, and I was at a restaurant, and as I was pulling out American money, because I'm sifting through, because it's all the same color.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's not easy to find.
Is that Canadian money? And I went, sure is. She goes, oh my God, can I take that to the back for people to see it? I'm like, have fun. When she came back, it was like,
don't give her any pink ones just in case.
So why don't you just hold on to that for little souvenir?
Pink bills and brown bills. And if you get a lavender one, you got yours printed just for you because that's $1,000 bill. But we have some
of those put away.
Yeah, we're not the only. I have the original $1 bills and all those from the 1970s and from my birthday. We're not the only ones who have colored money. In fact, I believe it's United States are the only ones who don't have it.
Canada's been making that colored money for everybody else but ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
But the States is the only place that it's not. That's my only thing. I have to organize.
To the beat of its own bloody drum. That's why.
Yeah. I have to.
Right. That's right.
We're close to the border. I always have to sift through that money like crazy. I'm like, I'm going to hand something because we're so used to just seeing, okay, blue is a 5, purple's a 10, 50 is 20 is green and 50 is pink, $100 bill
really
brown.
pay attention. Sifted through, man. Sifted through. Armani's color. I just got to look at the color. I know exactly what it is. So
I love it. I love it.
I know.
I used to fold
So
my 50s, the American 50s. I would fold them in half when I was traveling so I could find them, especially at a restaurant, right? But it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. Well, are you going to read off our guest bio?
Yes, I am. Tonight we're welcoming back Mark Fiorentino. We've had him on here before, and there was so much to learn that we asked him to come back. He shares his views on how the universe really works based on his study and research of Einstein's unified field theory. That's a mouthful. He will discuss the connection to conspiracy theories, including UFOs and the alien technology they use, as well as controversial topics, which I don't know if we're covering tonight, near-death experience revelations that are linked to the theory of super relativity, but we are discussing the Big Bang Theory, and it's not a show, even though that is my favorite show. Just saying, it's my favorite.
No, that's a little bit different.
I love that show.
That sounds exciting. We'll wait for Joe to bring him in. And for those who didn't catch the first show, we'll recap a little bit, but we won't want to spend too much time there. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Wow. So how are you keeping?
I'm doing well. Working, researching, continuing, getting ready to start a second book in a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Very nice. How does one prepare to start another book?
Well, I never thought I would do another book because it was so hard to write this first book.
Yeah.
But as things evolve, then suddenly you get the calling, oh, I should do that. And that's what I'm going to do. It's actually a prequel to the book that I have now. It's going to explain things.
A sequel, or did you say prequel?
Prequel.
Prequel. Oh, that sounds
very
interesting.
Cool. It should be a completely different process, right? Because you're going backwards. And maybe it'll be just a little bit easier because you've already been through the first format.
Yeah, and I have all the data compiled. I won't have to research a lot like I did for the first book because
there you go.
It's a personal account of my life leading up to this time.
I have a funny feeling you're going to be even harder on yourself because it's personal. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to get out. So much so that it's like a near-death experience, except I didn't die. There's a lot of contact with the other side that needs to be discussed and brought out. A lot to learn from it.
Wow, that's fascinating. I know you touched on that a little bit in the first show. So what I'd like to do, just for those who weren't able to tune in or get to the archive, we have a lot of new fans to the show. So can maybe we recap on that a little bit, you know, your early years. And I know that you had basically a life-saving moment with angels and so on. So if you don't mind, I'll let you backtrack and bring us up to speed, or bring everybody else up to speed. We're already there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
My love for science and physics and philosophy. I'm really a metaphysician, self-taught, and a physics self-taught. So my love started when I was very young, 10 years old, when I first found out that Einstein was born on my birthday, thanks to the nuns at the church asking for me to do a report on a saint born on my birthday, which I could not find. So that got me introduced to physics and science, and then I spent a lifetime reading about the unified field theory. Once I read that article, I was hooked. I wanted to know how to figure that out. I wanted, like Einstein said, I wanted to know how God created this world. And so it was kind of a spiritual journey.
And I'm sorry, how old were you? How old were you when?
10.
Wow.
I remember very clearly sitting on the floor reading the Encyclopedia Britannica and saying, this is the best idea. You know, how many ideas have I heard?
And you're 10. Most kids want like a cartoon or something. This must be a past life thing. It's like, I gotta continue this.
It has to be.
Oh, there is.
That's crazy.
Past life connections. Believe me. In the next book, we'll get into that. But
Right.
um, so that's how I got into it. And then as a teenager, I got into interest in UFOs because they had anti-gravity, and I thought for sure anti-gravity was part of the
Of course.
process of knowing about the unified field theory, because there's something there that we don't even know. We need to know how that works. So now there's
Hmm.
things coming together, motivations. I want to know about gravity. Now I want to know about anti-gravity. I know if I learn about gravity, I'll learn about how anti-gravity works. So, I was gathering steam, and then I was studying Einstein, his thoughts, what he was thinking about mechanically. So I went through my life working on that. Then in parallel to that, there was these spooky things going on with mediums and stuff that were alluding to some sort of great discovery, but I didn't think it would ever have to do with physics and unified field theory. I thought I might invent something someday, something like that. But they always used to say to me, many physicists, three to be precise, their first words out of their mouth was, in your final days, you will be a spiritual teacher. And I mean, they said the exact same words. Three different people over a 30-year span would say that. And I'd say, well, that's really why do they keep saying this? Who's going to listen to me about spiritualism? I'm just a regular guy. But you know what?
Hmm.
Through life, things happen. And now here we are at that point in time where we're talking about not only science, but spiritual things. So that kind of brings us up to speed as to where I'm at now in this book, writing about the unified field theory, which is really a discussion and a solution that I provide in my book and in this research paper I'm just finishing up now that I will submit
Hmm.
to real physicists who study gravity, who have agreed to accept it and read it. So I've worked out the problem with the math, which is
Excellent.
remarkable considering I'm not that great at math, but I seem to know what to do here and make sure I got it right.
Mm.
I had a physicist train me. I've hired somebody, paid them money, teach me about these formulas. I want to know. I'm going to use them to prove something. And so I went through all that extra effort in order to write this paper, to walk into their world and give them the kind of evidence they need to know about gravity and the origin of mass, gravity, and inertia. So that's where we're at right now. We're moving forward in a very positive
Hmm.
direction.
Hmm. It's fascinating to me because I don't know too many kids that want to grow up and do this. It's like, like they say sometimes we bring forward information from other lifetimes, the interest and because you have a vast amount of knowledge considering, like you say, you're not, a physicist or an astrophysicist or like that's really pretty in-depth research. Like you have to really like it.
Yeah,
The
I
UFO thing is interesting though.
I,
So,
I enjoy, like when I was a kid, I was always tearing my toys apart because I wanted to see how they worked inside. Then I would modify
mm,
them.
mm.
It wasn't enough to just tear them
So,
apart. Maybe I can make them work better if I do this and change that. So I was always, turning my toys into little versions of Frankenstein's,
I did
especially
that.
electronic things, which I loved electronics. That's how I earned my living up till this time in electronics and computers. I absolutely love that stuff. So that helped keep me interested in physics and science, and because I studied electrons and how they move through wires, and that was always
mhm,
working in my mind. So I would spend what a lot of people don't know is that when I was writing the book, I would wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. almost every night and do mining experiments like Einstein used to do. So I would sit there lying there in
mm,
bed in the dark and try to imagine the photon, how it looks, how it moves, the processes, electrons. I was studying neutrons and protons, which we will talk about some tonight, especially the neutron. I know it doesn't sound very interesting, but believe me, when you hear the story, it's extremely interesting because we're talking about the foundation of reality and intelligent design and how God created this particular universe. I'm going to give you the details of all of that.
Hey, this is all Greek to me, but if anybody can make it exciting, I know you can make it exciting. And that's one thing we love here on the show is just listening to different theories and perspectives. We meet people from all walks of life, and we've not had anybody else come on the show to talk about this. So this is all you educating us. So this is going to be, I look forward to it. The other one was just like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I never thought I could get into it because I'm not like scientific in that way. I'm just sort of in general science I love because you have to have an understanding of it. But it's sort of like, okay, I walked away from the last show going, that's actually pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, physics was my toughest class, so I was pretty impressed that you kept my attention the whole time. And I was an honor roll student.
It's interesting stuff because it's how things work. And really, most people, when they stop and think about it, they want to know. You want to know you want to know what's true. You want to know what's real. That's what motivates people in physics and people like yourselves who are into the paranormal. They want to know. We want to know what's going on.
Yeah. Energy is everything.
What we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to talk about reality. That's why I named the book The Master of Reality. A lifelong pursuit to figure out what the heck is going on here in the world of physics I've dealt with. We also talked about the supernatural and that actually governs the world of physics and science.
That's fascinating.
An intelligent design means that there was a creator, and that creator created, well, to give you an example, that comes from Father Rick Wendell, who basically had an NDE, became a Catholic priest after that. And he, like many others that I've read, and I've looked for patterns in NDE cases, and he says this: all of this three-dimensional world is within God. There is nothing outside of God. Everything within this physical universe has to correspond to laws, and God set those laws. They are immutable as God is immutable. None of this, what we see and experience, is an accident. It is intentioned by God. So that's what we're dealing with. That's the real reality, and everybody needs to get on board with that so we can move forward, so we can evolve. And you guys are helping me in that process. That's what we're trying to inform people tonight. The spiritual realm is...
Yeah, we're always happy to provide a platform. I mean, that's the easy part. All of this, it's hard, I think, for people to digest some of this. It is because it's very complicated, So, I mean, putting it in layman's terms definitely helps, which you have a really good knack for doing. So where would you like to start tonight?
Well, we didn't discuss the Big Bang, and there's like 3 chapters of that in my book. And I start with something, a point that's very important that helps me analyze a mysterious problem, which then leads to the discovery of the Big Bang, which then led to the discovery tonight I'm announcing on your show.
Okay, because that goes in a lot of different directions with some researchers, doesn't it?
We're going to go to the very small and then come back out to the very large.
Okay, blow our minds, man. Go for it.
Well, it all starts with something I read once about, now, before I start, I'm going to start with this. I believe in intelligent design, and that determines the questions I ask so that I can dig deep and get answers. So with that in mind, there's a mystery in physics, and it's a mystery about the particle called the neutron, which is a neutrally charged particle. And the mystery is this: if you isolate it by itself for 15 minutes, it will decay into a proton and an electron. And they don't know why and how it does this.
Okay.
But the proton, the other particle that makes up matter, basically the two particles, proton and neutrons, make up all the elements of the universe, all of them, combinations of protons and neutrons. Now, the neutron decays into something quite useful, a proton and an electron. And do you know what that makes?
No.
It makes something wonderful, hydrogen.
I told you that I had a hard time in that class, right?
I was like, no, I have no clue.
Because I feel like I'm back there and I'm going to be scolded.
You might have gotten yeah, proton and electron is hydrogen. And hydrogen is very handy in this universe because that's what stars are made out of. That's how they get their start in life. Hydrogen contracts, which they don't know how, but I'm going to explain how and why it does, into a star. And then we have star systems. And the planets do the same thing, as I've discovered. So then I say, well, okay, there is a mystery with the neutron, and it's turning into hydrogen, which I realize is very useful. Now I'm going to say something that the physicists won't say. It's not just a fluke. It's not an accident. I say it was designed that way. So who and why was it designed that way? Okay, who? The answer is easy. That's God. Why did he design the neutron to turn into a proton and electron? Well, because we need hydrogen to start a universe. That means at the beginning of the universe, there must have been an enormous amount of neutrons that came out of something that formed a neutron plasma, not plasma.
It's okay. I understood the plaza part.
Yeah.
It's just like using talk to text. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. You got to rewrite that.
Yeah, we're good.
Glitch in the matrix. Plasma. So that neutron plasma is in 15 minutes perfectly turns into exactly what this universe needs to get rolling: hydrogen, and lots of it. But then, where did that neutron plasma come from? Well, the Big Bang, which was this big, giant cosmic egg black hole-like thing, which is light years across in size. It's hundreds and thousands. It's huge. It's got all the matter and all the energy in the universe stored in a perfect form that is stable in that form, in that structure, which is nothing but neutrons, which is basically neutronium. So what I'm saying black holes are made of tonight, officially, is neutronium. And the evidence for that is everywhere. When stars blow up, they leave behind neutron stars typically, which are just neutronium spheres.
Right.
So current day physicists say, well, that explosion caused that. And it wasn't there before. And I said, no, what if that thing was there before it blew up? In other words, it got the whole ball rolling. So what happens is when the Big Bang happens, which is a huge block, basically a giant sphere of neutronium, it blows out neutrons and a plasma and many spheres of neutronium of various sizes. These spheres go out and pull with them the neutron gas, which immediately, within 15 minutes, turns to hydrogen. And then the galaxies from that point on start to form. And it takes millions of years for the stars to get started and the galaxies. And so what we see in the universe is every galaxy has a black hole at its center. So that means it pulled with it all of the raw material needed to build a galaxy, which was millions of neutronium spheres of various sizes. The bigger ones form stars. They're all rapidly spinning, and they are gathering the hydrogen, which is now abundantly available, into stars and compresses it. So the current theory for star formation never made sense. when I read it years ago as a kid, I said, this doesn't make sense. The gas just comes together in the outer space. And the scientists know that neutrons or the electromagnetic force for protons is much stronger, the push away force, than is the force of gravity. So without anything there, gravitationally speaking, those hydrogen clouds will never gather gas to make stars. They had to have an origin of mass of great strength. And the neutronium spheres do that. So what I am asking scientists who are listening tonight to do, find that our star, the sun, has a solid neutronium core. If you do the measurements, you're going to see it's solid. So far from the ones I've gotten from NASA, clearly indicate there's something solid inside of the sun. And this is a big breakthrough.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Didn't Hawking prove that theory before he passed away, saying that, and it was always his theory that it was a Big Bang, and then he turned around and realized through his studies and his research that there was actually something that created the Big Bang, basically, as you're saying.
He was a black hole specialist. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what he really studied the most. I do not know. I am not aware of that he theorized neutronium. Was that the center?
I can't remember what it was called, but I remember it wasn't long before he died because that created a big stir at the Vatican. Because it just made everything that they say plausible and believable, right?
I will look into that more.
Yeah.
He liked to stick to the classical physics more than most physicists.
No, but he did a turn right before he passed away. It was unlike him. I think Michelle knows what I'm talking about. It was unlike him to even pursue this type of theory, but he did because he said that he couldn't live with himself if he didn't just try. And he did, and he proved that there was something that caused the Big Bang. He didn't say it was God. He just said there is indeed something there that manipulated this.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad to hear there's still a lot of scientists that believe in God and intelligent design. Not a lot, not huge numbers, but there are some.
I think some of them a little bit more as they're nearing death.
I was going to say, I think when you start nearing death and you start questioning your existence and you're going to pass, and especially when you have that kind of knowledge, I think that, it's like, especially if there's a curiosity or concern or a worry, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's what sort of pushed him into that direction,
Yeah, it's possible. Well, I'll look into it because what I'm saying is that nobody's really come out and said that black holes have anything in them. They say a lot of highly speculative comments. They're singularities. They have infinite mass. They can't possibly have infinite mass. They can't possibly have infinite gravitational pull, because if they did, the entire universe would get sucked in immediately, and that's not happening. They have finite amount of mass and finite amount of gravitational pull. What black holes are just extremely densely packed neutronium spheres. It's just the next level up from neutron stars to black holes to supermassive black holes. Mm-hmm. And what triggers the Big Bang now afterwards is the laws of physics. Basically, when you have all the mass gathered together again to re-trigger the alpha and the omega, you need everything in the universe to do it, so that the pressure becomes so great you have an internal, what I call a Fiore threshold, basically where there's an avalanche effect where the neutrons can no longer hold themselves together because they're so densely packed that the quarks inside of them are interfering. So now you start to get this electromagnetic pulses of photons and stuff. The heat builds up to trillions of degrees, and this triggers the next Big Bang. But just so happens it requires just about all of the mass and energy in the universe to trigger it. By design, so that the universe never really dies. It just continues on eternally as designed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, well, if you're looking at black holes, you're saying like it swallows everything up. Doesn't it also expel, like push out? Like it tells you that there's got to be something in there. Like it takes in so much, but it takes in just a small percentage, and then just, as some people will say, it'll have a little burp and.
Well, Stephen Hawking said there was Hawking radiation, and I don't know if that was ever proved or not.
I don't think so. I don't know. I would have to look at
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But he also believed that the whole universe was a hologram. So
according to the super relativity theory, what is happening, and it's been confirmed by astronomers, because I've seen what they've said about this. Basically, we have one of two things happening. Modern day physics says that the universe is expanding. And they say that because of what Hubble kind of discovered, and he came up with a kind of a theory that should have been questioned more. Because at the heart of his theory, he said, as you get farther away from us in outer space, farther away from Earth, so he made Earth the center of the universe. Already, we should have been questioning that. Really? The Earth is the center of the universe. I guess he had a bit of a religious thing going on there, but he looked for stars in distant galaxies and then measured the speed of those galaxies. And the further out he went, it seemed like they were going away from us faster and faster. And then they declared that the universe is expanding. That's not what's really happening. That acceleration that's happening is not being caused by dark energy, as they say it is now. Dark energy probably does not even exist. What's really happening, what I've read from a lot of astronomers that are being ignored right now, but they've done a deeper survey, much more analysis. And yeah, there is a lot of galaxies out there that are accelerating away from us, but the force that's causing that acceleration is gravity. They're accelerating just like somebody from Earth would fall in the sky and fall and accelerate as they fall. They're falling towards something. And when they looked, they found that these galaxies are in groups and they're all falling toward huge black holes spread out across the universe in different areas. We are this Milky Way and Andromeda and a group of galaxies in our group they're not going away from each other. They're all going toward each other. And we're all moving towards something called the Great Attractor, which is a very large dark spot. That's, if you look at the Milky Way at night and you look through it, on the other side, that's where we're headed. And we're increasing in speed. We're all falling towards something very large. And
so basically, what's the foreseeable fate of the universe, the Milky Way?
Years,
gone?
We'll fall into that black hole, as other galaxies around the universe are doing now.
In how long?
4 to 5 billion years, probably.
Oh, shit, okay, I'm all right.
There won't even be books for my great kids to blame me on anything for.
Wow.
No, this is not something we have to worry about now. Of course not.
Wow, that's
interesting. Tomorrow by an asteroid, but that particular
but every generation should be concerned about what they leave behind for the next. That's the only way that we're going to keep us whole.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll have to get off this planet because we also have the problem of the sun burning out, and when that happens, the sun will turn into a red giant, and we'll be probably inside the atmosphere as it expands out of the red giant. There will be no life. It will be wiped out.
How long are they saying that'll happen, Mark?
That's, again, 4 or 5 billion years.
Right. I think we'll end up with an ice age before that. Because there are theories about, that the Earth is tilting and that it will flip. And there's a lot of stuff going on out there right now. Yeah.
The problem is they've miscalculated the amount of time because they're not aware that 4 or 5, maybe 10% of the sun is neutronium, and it's not available hydrogen to burn. So the hydrogen is going to burn out earlier than they think. And that it only may be a billion years earlier. Maybe instead of having 4 billion, maybe we only have 3 billion years left, but still not a crisis. But it could be worse. It depends on how large that neutronium sphere is inside of the sun. And we should start learning about that. We should start computing that and figuring it out. But first, we have to acknowledge that that's true. So I'm asking scientists to investigate my claim and my theory on that.
Okay. So in the meantime, you're saying the universe is not expanding per se. You're saying it's going the other way. It's collapsing.
Yeah, and there's more evidence of that. It's not just that these astronomers are seeing they're seeing large groups of galaxies, some going this way, some going that way, some going down, some up. They're all falling toward these big, giant black holes. Even the great attractor to the thing we're falling into is being pulled by an even bigger one. And that it's going to fall into that. Just as I predicted, I knew that. I worked it out in those things at night. And I said, well, if the universe is collapsing, we're going to see evidence through astronomers. So I went looking for them, and I found them, and sure enough, that's what they've seen. And I also said, speed of light will be slowing down. So I went looking for evidence of that, and sure enough, I found a guy who went through all the measurements over the last 200 years and said, hey, there's no doubt here. According to these measurements over time, the speed of light is slowing down. Now, unfortunately, this guy got shut down, but he was never refuted. His report was never refuted. It was Barry Setterfield. And so now we have more evidence. It matches my theory. I said, if we're collapsing, the speed of light is going to be slowing down. If we were expanding, the speed of light would actually be going up. But the controversy here is that the physicists back in, I think it was the 1940s, Raymond Burge, who was the chairman of physics at University of California, Berkeley, had basically decided that, hey, every time they make this measurement about the speed of light, we got a problem because it's never the same. Every time they do it, it's slowing down. So he made a declaration at that time saying, we're going to pick a number, and that's the speed of light. And so that's
not accurate.
There's nobody overlooking these guys and saying, hey, you can't do that. You just can't make up a number.
No.
The number.
Isn't that odd, though, Mark, for a scientist? Like, isn't accuracy, that's what science is measurement and accuracy and math? Like, that's just, I'm calling bull, you know what, on this.
Just say it. I call bullshit. That's just not
well, we're just going to pick that number. Sure. I can pick a number on the scale, too, when I step on it, but doesn't make it so.
They did that for a reason, because it threatens science. If the atomic constants are not constant, then everything they know starts to unravel. The speed of light is considered an atomic constant. However, Burge recommended values for the speed of light decreased steadily until 1940, when he wrote this report saying, that's enough, we're going to pick a number. After that paper was written, by request from other scientists, because they were panicking about this, the variability of constants was not allowed, and that was it. From that date on, what happened over time in the 60s and the 70s, finally, you know what they do now when they measure the speed of light? You're going to love this. What they do is they tune the apparatus. You know, they measure a distance, and they time the light going back and forth in mirrors. So what they do is to say, we accept that Burge's number is right, so we're going to move the mirrors back and forth until we get that number.
Wow.
And then we're going to start measuring the speed of light. So now they always get the speed of light, you know, that number, because they make the equipment. So what they're really measuring and what's really changing, but nobody's looking at it, as the length of the meter has got to be shrinking in order to keep this number constant.
Let's hope they're not measuring our pharmaceuticals that way.
So there is a controversy there that just quietly is ignored by physicists. And I've talked to others because there's other speed of light experiments that I've been looking at to back up.
So if the slower.
Oh,
you froze.
Right. So if it goes too slow, then what?
Well, as we get closer,
You're froze for me.
The reason the speed of light is going slower is because the gravitational field is increasing. And it's increasing because we're falling toward the great attractor. So all of this makes sense. All of this fits together. These things I'm linking, and they all make sense. The speed of light is slowing. It's slowing because we're falling toward a gravitational field. And we know, Einstein proved, and it has been tested, that light goes slower in a gravitational field. That's an absolute rock solid fact that's inescapable. So everything is making sense. The speed of light is slowing. We're moving toward a big object that's very dense. So and we're moving like at 1,000,000-something miles an hour. It's not like we're going slow.
No.
And so each and every day, that speed of light by maybe a few increments of a mile, a few hundred feet per second or whatever, is gradually over time going to slow down. And when it gets to zero, guess what? The sky will be all black ahead of it. You won't see any stars anymore. And you'll notice that things are being lifted off the face of the planet. Time is slowing down to almost nothing. And everybody dies within a few hours, whatever, billions of years from now.
Does time even exist, though? That's a whole other show.
I dedicate almost a chapter to time because it needs to be
Let's touch on it. Let's touch on it.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got time. Let's touch on it.
We got time. Let's touch on time.
That's right. There we go.
Yeah.
You are precious.
Sure. Time isn't really real. It occurs here because we have physical things.
Mm-hmm.
And the physical thing you need in order for time to emerge is something that we can detect. We can actually see intervals of time passages. We need something to exist physically, and that something is the ether. The ether is the thing I've talked about before. Yeah. Space is made of something. It's a continuous material. So if we're going to travel across that material, there has to be something between here and there. If there is nothing between here and there, like many scientists say, this is a void, it's made of nothing. There's nothing. If there is nothing here, I'm going to use their math now. Distance equals rate times time. If there's nothing between these 2 points, it will take 0 time, according to that equation, to get across there. But that's not what we see. If we take a meter stick and we put it in the outer space and we measure how fast light goes, it takes a finite amount of time. That means there's something there. There has to be. So once that happens, then time can emerge because you have a physical reality in which things move at a specific rate so that you can time things. There's an orderly sequence. And so time comes about as a result of there being a physical universe. Now, to back that up, if you go on the other side, you pass away and die, they'll tell you there's no time there.
Yeah.
There's, it's like all one moment, an eternal now. And where everything is happening.
What about folding time?
If you want to do time travel and all that stuff, you don't have to fold time because
I do. I'd love to.
All time is in parallel, and we live in a time segment. We're born into it. That's our time segment. But all the other segments and dimensions are in parallel. So if you want to jump from one, the folding idea, but it's not really folding, you're just going to jump through a portal to another time. That's doable. And all you got to do is make the portal open.
Wow.
I'm packing.
Okay. And
I'm
how
packing
does
now.
one go
I'm just
about
saying,
this?
I'm packing my suitcase,
Just so
Yeah.
happens
How does one
Yeah.
go about just jumping?
taking my favorite shoes.
I
Just
want to
saying.
jump
Yeah.
time too.
I
Yeah.
explain that in my book. You can do that by building a Stargate. Stargates open.
That's all it takes. Jeez, Michelle, we could have done that on the
Stargate.
weekend.
It,
Just a weekend project.
Sounds
It's
easy
nothing.
enough.
yeah. A Stargate can open a portal or gateway between times
Right.
or great distances, dimensions, or universes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
there's lots of UFO discussions about, how the advanced species or,
Yes.
or ETs are doing that. They employ that technology. We discovered time travel and interdimensional travel during the Philadelphia experiment. And once the Navy and the Air Force got a hold
That's
of
right.
that, and they realized there is a way to do it again with magnetism, magnetic
Mhm.
resonant fields.
Mhm.
They went off and started working on that. And then they did, they continued to the Montauk project. And now I'm
That
sure,
was all crazy stuff.
yeah, there's crazy stuff because they're messing with dimensions, not only other dimensions, but time travel. And
Mhm.
I'm really not a guy that's for traveling back in time. I
No.
just don't believe that's something that should be changed. It should be
Really?
done with it.
I
Do you
don't
think
know.
that if you jump back in time, you're actually going to rewrite the future?
Yeah, I think there's a good possibility, but how could we detect that?
Mm.
Uh, there's that phenomenon. What's it called? The Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Yes. So much
We've
to
done
the
a few of those
Mandela.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there is a way to detect it, it would be something like that because our consciousness would be able to maybe bridge the gap between this physical realm and our brains and everything and make a connection between, hey, there's a disturbance in the force, if you want to call it
Yeah,
that.
that's true. That's true.
I remember this being this way and now it's not. Something happened. And that would require us to be able to retain the memories of what was
Mhm.
before after it was changed. And so maybe the Mandela effect is telling us there has been
A result
something
of
happening with time.
Yeah, a result of changing or I mean, you see, and there's so many theories about time travel. It's just appearing in old photographs, or he's seeing modern day things, and they find them in a rock somewhere. Archaeologists go like, "What?" you know. Um,
I'm always looking for those things. You found something, you heard of something like a digital piece of hardware in a rock or something?
Yeah, there was something online
you can
about it. I think
Google
we
it.
did it in one of our shows, not the Gray Zone, the
Gray
other show
Zone,
that I
yeah.
do with Joe Montaldo. Yeah, I could find just about anything. I just start plucking away and researching. All of a sudden, I'm like,
I
hello.
believe they showed that on
There's a
one of
few
those
things like that.
unexplained shows as well. Like it was a
There is.
big thing when you did it.
There's, you know what? There's a lot of stuff just
Yeah.
like that, just out of place. I think the
Microchips.
show was basically entitled as Out of Place Objects, and without any explanation as to where it came from.
If I
And
were
it's
an
like,
archaeologist, that's what I'd be looking for.
yes.
Evidence
yes.
of advanced species or advanced technology.
Well, there was microchips found, and there's all like computer technology that is found in these rocks, and it's insane. As you
It's
wonder,
tons of stuff. There's a
Yeah.
power plant that they found what appeared to be a mine, like a power plant going back 250 million years ago.
Well, I have to read about that. I haven't
I'll
heard.
send it to you.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you. I'll just
I
send you
got
the
an
link.
open mind. If they can make a convincing case,
Yeah, I
wouldn't
will.
surprise me. There has to be. If there was an advanced civilization, surely there would be something left behind. What
They
bothers
dated
me
it.
is whenever we find something like this, I would
Yep.
think the U.S. government would just take it and make it.
They've dated it. They did find it. I will
I
send
wonder
you a
if they
link to
even
the
believed
article.
it.
To me,
Because if
that's
I
they-
good
know.
news.
Yeah.
I just find things that things find me, and I'm just like,
I remember
okay.
seeing that. It's also on YouTube if you search it. It was a big
That
deal
one,
when
yeah.
it came out. That's a big deal.
That
It's not
one?
like the cell phone in that time traveling photo.
Oh,
This was a
one,
big
yeah.
deal because they could count the years of how long it took to form that rock around it. So
Right.
that is a big deal, and that's science, and that's accurate.
Yeah,
So how
there's
do you
just all kinds
explain
of
the
that.
chip being inside of there?
I would like to hear a physicist try to explain that. If there's a microchip embedded
Yeah.
in a, I don't know, quartz rock, it would have to be a sedimentary rock of some sort, shale, something like that.
I think it was shale.
Yeah,
There's
because,
all kinds of stuff.
there's
Yeah,
no way that
granite.
it would survive the pressure and the heat to form a big time mineral like quartz or granite or something.
Yeah, it had to be.
So it's got to be a sedimentary rock, shale, or
Yeah, I don't remember the details around it, but I remember being like, what the F kind of moment watching that. Wait, Wayne has a comment. Maybe he knows or remembers. I'm going to check.
It says he watches me research.
Yeah, a circuit board from an airplane guidance system was found complicated at the breastplate of an Incan king's burial armor.
That's another one.
Well, if they don't have any, there should be some markings on it, like a serial number. If that doesn't correspond to anything, made by Samsung or
I don't think it would. Yeah.
But in an Incan king's burial armor, what
yeah.
they do? Dig it, put it in there, and come back 2,000 years later?
Nope, they might have found
somebody
it.
will make
I
that
don't
argument,
know.
That somebody messed with something.
There's all kinds of out of place
theories.
artifacts like
Yeah.
that.
There's different
everywhere.
theories.
The mind for me was mind blowing because it went back to 250 million years. And when they discovered it, they were, scientists were just like, this is not even like possible. 250 million years was something outrageous like that. And it just makes you realize all these out of place objects are just dropping in. Is it time travel or is it ancient civilizations? It's just so far out there. But to think that, there are people doing it and the Mandela effect could very well be, as I always call it, it's like the butterfly effect, it's just like a ripple. It just changes something. It's just something so minute, but yet you come back and things are really changing. And the Mandela effect's got hundreds.
Oh, the Bible's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they've got hundreds of different ones. I mean, I've seen so many of them. Bishop Bill Bean sent me something. Actually, he sent me a list of them. And then I started digging and found that many more. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. If that's the case, how many people, or is it the same guy, just like bopping about, just changing everything and messing it all up?
Is it on purpose, or is it? And we don't really know, right? That's what I want to know.
That I have, which will be in my next book, talk about that in much more detail. And it's the United States government who's already built that technology.
I've read about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
They've been experimenting with it for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
What they're changing, and you have to be very careful. I don't think they're very good at it, from what I hear, because it's hard to predict. Things are, the probabilities from the butterfly effect. They do this, and if you don't watch out, you could pollute the timeline to the point that it breaks, and God only knows what would happen if that happened. Would we wake up the next day and not be here, or I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want them to do that. There's no need to do that. Let's just let the cards be played as they were and move from here forward.
Yeah, because if you're looking at U.S. government, that could be reverse engineering all kinds of things. If you're going back to the times of Solomon, they believe it was sort of a portal, or was it a time travel thing? Or what about Hitler and the bell? They thought that was a time travel device, and there's all kinds of stuff about him getting information from extraterrestrial species. But the point is that you go back in time and you do see references to people being able to manage it? Are they going through portals, or are they building devices? Because there are portals and vortices all over this planet. The ancients built over top of power spots. So when you say all you need is a Stargate, I'm like, where's the nearest one? I don't think we actually have to build one. Can we use a used one? Does it have to be new? Like, can we just go and borrow somebody else's?
I think sometimes it happens accidentally during magnetic storms and stuff. You have a magnetic resonant field that occurs somewhere on the Earth's surface.
Okay.
Somebody happens to walk through that. I remember, and it's in my book, and I can't remember the person's name, but eyewitnesses saw a man who was in the field. I think it was some sort of growing some sort of vegetable. Might have been corn or something like that. And he was waving to his family and some people, and then he just vanished. And then they ran out there to see, and all that was left was just, they could hear him calling, but they couldn't find him. And they searched for days.
Wow, really?
Good Lord. That's not ET.
It is in my book, because I remembered reading it as a kid, and it stuck in my head. Magnetic resonant fields, disappearing person, where did he go? Wanted to know more about that. And I was able, thanks to my editor, who also remembered reading that. And she gave me the book, and then, or the title of the book, and I was able to find the article, and then I was able to include it in my book. That is a well-known case where some sort of a magnetic resonant field opened a portal, and that person apparently stepped into another dimension and was not able to return. And who knows how many of these missing cases that are going on in America and in the rest of the world are due to that kind of phenomenon, because there's not much warning.
There's a lot of people who say that, there's a lot of reports of people just walking on hikes through national parks with people. They said, I was only like 100 feet or 200 feet behind this person, or they were only 100 feet behind me.
Yeah,
and they turn around, the person's gone. Thin air, like there's nothing.
Especially in the mountains. There's a lot of that in the mountains. The Grand Canyon's huge for that too.
Well, we did a show on it.
If you've got a lot of iron and stuff in the mountains, that can contribute to making that magnetic resonant field and opening portals, unpredictable when or where. The only hope you have of detecting one is that as you look ahead, you'll see a little bit of a rainbow effect in the light. Don't keep walking if you see that. Step back and away, because more than likely there's a magnetic field there. Because magnetic fields affect light. They affect the polarization.
Right.
Wait a
Faraday
second.
discovered that.
A rainbow effect?
Yeah, the colors kind of.
You can even see that in a puddle.
Polarization, and you get a little bit of a a bending of the light, so you would see some sort of a rainbow effect of the colors.
Yes, because all light is white. It's just a reflection of that creates these colors. The way the other light hits it and reflects back off of it. But I only know that because my daughter did a science fair. Don't look too impressed on the theory of white light. But really, so when I see portals in my work, I sometimes see them in that kind of rippling effect. That's why I was so fascinated by what you just said. And certain colors mean certain things. That is fascinating.
Well, I think there has been a lot of reports that aliens use this technology. It's a very efficient way of getting around, instantly from one place to another. In those reports, usually they see a green mist emerging before the spacecraft comes out of it. So there's something to do. Even in the Philadelphia experiment, I believe there were reports when they turned on the coils, the magnetic coils, that they saw this green mist.
I remember reading that.
That might be another indication that you're going to do a dimensional jump if you see that.
Yeah, I'd be jumping and running the other way. Just saying.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I've driven down places, especially down here, and sometimes you will see like a colored mist,
Ugh.
bluish hue. Maybe it is like green, depending on the reflection of, the light of headlights, things like that, where they're around. Like
So
that
at
stuff
night.
it's not at night you see it. Yeah. Well, for me,
Wow.
yeah. I don't like to get out and mix with the locals too much.
Yeah.
Bit of an
Next time I
introvert.
come over,
I'm
you're
kidding. I'm
driving me.
kidding.
Next time I come
I'm
over, you're
kidding.
driving me home.
No, no, I'm kidding.
I'll leave my car
I have
there.
a busy life. I just try to take a drive now and then, but it
Yeah.
usually ends up being at
Well,
night.
since COVID, we haven't seen each other since the
So,
pandemic. But
exactly.
yeah, but the next time I'm
Exactly.
coming over, man, I'm telling you, now that you told me that, that's a
But-
long, dark road home.
It is. So, but that is interesting. But it's something that's something else to look for, that you can actually physically see it if you're out and
Wow.
about. So
That's insanity. So that's a common perception amongst all of them that have had these sightings. Wow.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who claim that they've jumped into another reality and were able to get back, and they tell stories about how the cars were slightly different. There was another me on the other side, and they're interesting stories. It's hard to tell if they're making it up or not, but I keep
that's
an open
interesting.
mind.
Also,
Yeah. So
Wow. What do
Slightly
they do when
different.
they see the other them? You see your doppelganger. What do you do? I mean, Supernatural tells you you're heading to death.
yeah.
So what happens when you see them in another dimension?
I'm sure it's a very uncomfortable feeling. I mean, I have a doppelganger in my town here, but he just looks like me. He's not a real.
There's not
I had
enough
one in
room in
high
this
school.
dimension for two of
Yeah.
me. Believe me.
They're everywhere. Everybody has
I had one in
somewhere.
high school. We were good friends too. So that was like, that used to mess a lot of people up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my
That's-
doppelganger is a doctor, and he works in the hospital where I work. And when I would walk up to the floor, I never saw him, but I would walk up there, and sometimes I'd be wearing a sport jacket or whatever. And as I walk up there, the nurse comes to me, "Doctor, what do you want to do with this patient?" I'm not.
Can I pick? I'd be like, can I take his direct deposit?
Yeah. Do you
Wow.
know where the checkbook is?
Yeah, you guys aren't depositing my paycheck in the right account.
So it's I'm always being spotted in other parts of town. I said, "No, I wasn't there. That must have been the other me."
Yeah,
It's a weird thing.
I get the "Do I know you?"
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. It is fascinating stuff when you start getting into, portals and vortices and things like that. The planet, the universe, it's very intricate. Like there's a lot to it. It's not so cut and dry.
No, we're only, we think that, we see American Idol, we see football games, we live, we go out to eat, whatever, watch TV. That's it. That's all there is. Just this. We're only experiencing 0.0 and 1,000 million zeros of what's out there. 0.0%. There is so much more that we don't know about. Alternate universes, probably infinite amount of universes and dimensions and times. If you get to talk to a lot of NDE people or read, like I have many, and listen to many of their accounts, they come out and say that. They say God is creating, and he's continuously creating more universes, more dimensions, and it's all a part of him. This is an infinite, eternal being that can comprehend everything, as well as people who get there describe. When I think about this, I'm capable of being in everybody's mind on the universe, or on planet Earth. I know what everybody's thinking, and as some of the NDEs that I've talked to said, hey, when I was there, I could recognize and acknowledge every grain of sand on every planet, everywhere, and I knew its purpose, its place, where it was, and I was aware of it. So what really is happening here is God. We are at the center of his attention. You are, and I am, and everybody on earth is at the center of God's attention at all times. and everything is being recorded.
Can-
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have to, because this is just too funny. So God's recording everything, and we have these multiple dimensions. All the Catholics are going to hate me. Remember, I am Roman Catholic. Does that mean that as a whole we face the 10 Commandments? Just saying.
Repeat.
Who's responsible? I said, if God is watching everything and recording everything, and we have multiple verses, multi-universes of us in them, who pays the 10 Commandment spots?
The thing about religion.
Sorry, I had to put that one out there, because
as a Catholic, I've battled, is this a mortal sin? Do I need to worry about this? And a lot of NDEs, many are coming back, and we've got the whole religion thing. The problem with religion, not just Catholics or any, is the matter of our interpretation. We've misinterpreted things, and we're thinking things that aren't really true. Like,
no, it's all.
You do this mortal sin, you're going to go to hell. Not really.
Yeah.
If you have a hellacious experience when you die for whatever reason, it's because of where your mind is at. And you actually, as it's been told by other NDEs, you actually create that hell-like situation for a particular reason. And they always, every account that I've heard of, gets out of it by praying or, speaking to God. And then the bad experience is over, and then they go.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. I had my mother sending me back, and I've had quite a few NDEs. My experience is very different from a lot of them, though.
Well, there's commonalities, but they're very tailored to each and every individual. You get and experience and see what you need to experience in order to learn and to be able to comprehend what's happening to you on the other side. So that doesn't surprise me at all, that it's unique. And when I listen to NDEs, I want to hear your unique experiences. What did you see? What did they tell you? Because this is priceless information. This is wisdom.
Well, I can tell you, I didn't want to come back. That I can tell you.
There's one of the common things that people say as soon as they get there. It says, this place is way better than where I was. And you lose that material connection, that thinking when you're in the flesh, that once you're out of that, you don't think about, I got to get money. I got to, I want to meet a new girlfriend or whatever.
I think you just think about your family. You leave about, those behind.
Yeah, even your family. I love them, but I want to.
I actually was looking for them. Yeah.
I heard of one NDE where the lady basically loved dancing so much. When she told God about this, he kind of had a chuckle. He says, "Sure, I'll send you back for a few more years so you can dance some more." Many NDEs, you hear that they get a choice. You could come back, or your time is done. But if you want to come back for a while longer, that's okay. Or if it's not your final exit point or whatever. A lot of things that people don't realize, that many people get a choice. Many are told, no, you have to go back whether you want to or not. You have to finish what you got to do.
I just want to make a point to KD. We respect your opinions and your comments, but please keep the F words off the comment section.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So going back to being recorded and people on Earth, what about ETs who are within different planets, even within our own solar system?
They're in the whole universal scheme. Of course, you have to, what happens to religion when we really finally discover there is ETs? Of course there is.
Yes.
Most of us acknowledge that now.
Yeah, I think so too.
They know about the universal being, God, and they have their own kind of religion. In the cases that I've read about, whatever, it's usually a kind of a universal concept, whereas,
Mhm.
you know, they're not just Catholic or Baptist or whatever. They have their own religion, and where God is universal being, theism is probably the best, uh, the most equatable type of concept or philosophy, where God created the universe and he continues to create and is very interested personally in
Mhm.
when including the ETs.
Right.
ETs are much
And
more,
some people, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Some people believe God is an ET, is an ultimate being. Not everybody looks at him or her or it that way.
well, from what I read from NDEs and spiritual guides and so forth, God is referred to as the one on the other
Yeah.
side.
Mhm.
And it's hard to comprehend, because you have to, when you start thinking of that, well, when did he start? Oh, he was always here. So now you're starting to lock into a circular kind of thought pattern, whereas he was always here, he's eternal. Where did I come from? Where did I start? Did I have a beginning? You get kind of like, it gets kind of
It's
dizzying.
hard because you need to separate the religious part of it. I think we all believe in a creator, whomever that creator is. Definitely there is a creator, but when you think like everything you're talking about right now with space and how everything seemed to evolve, kind of hard to think that he would do that in 7 days. So I'm saying you got to pull some of that out, because science, and yourself included, clearly shows otherwise.
Yeah, well, like Einstein said, religion without science is blind. Science without religion is lame.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say here basically is they
Yeah.
need to be merged into one thing. Deal
Mhm.
with the truth, deal with the creator, learn about science, but learn and understand that there is a being that created this, and this affects your thinking, so that you get to the truth better once you
Mhm.
know where the origin of everything is. So you really do want to know, as Einstein said, I want to know how God created this world. I am not interested in this or that phenomena,
Mm.
in the spectrum of this or that element. I want to know his thoughts. The rest are just details. In my
Mhm.
research, I discovered the details are his thoughts. All of this,
Okay, kind of like law of attraction.
everything here is from him. You could equate it to like a matrix type thing, if you want to go pop culture and kind of get in it.
Yeah, that seems to be a big one nowadays, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's very much like that. Basically, everything here, all of us, all objects and materials are part of this God consciousness that created the universe and all the other, and continues to create all these universes. And
Mhm.
when we die, we realize that within minutes of being there. Oh, I remember now. I remember that. This is
Mhm.
home, and I'm back, and this is great. This life here is kind of like I don't know, an amusement park ride or something of that nature. You go on to it and you have your experiences, and you're kind of disconnected until you get back there, and then you get to the truth again.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. I believe that we're all part of a collective. We're all part of the universe in one way or another, and for me, I had an uncle pass. He was very, very curious about death and so on, and brought him through after he passed away. And I said, you know, because it was cancer, very last minute and very fast. He went very quickly. And I think he started fearing what was ahead, because he never really feared death. And I said, is it everything you thought it was? And he said, more. And I said, how so? He said, he goes, it's beautiful. It goes, there's so many lights. I go, lights. I said, what are the lights? And I said, is it soul energy? He goes, and so much more. And I was just like, mind blown. Okay. But to me, it's just, it just shows that, you just go back to light. We are beings of light
Exactly.
having a human experience,
Right. Exactly. That's exactly true. I agree with that 100%. That's just the way it is. And if we can get as a race, a human race, back up to, all these NDEs say one thing, one commandment for man, love one another. If we could just get to that, the wars would stop, all the political stuff would stop, all the hate would stop, and we just start working together. That's all we really need to get, what Jesus taught. Love one another, live by the golden rule. Do these simple things, and everything is going to work out really great. The more we can get to that, the better off things will be. It's that simple, but it's simple.
Basic science.
Not so easy to do, apparently, because we have our emotions and egos and all this stuff that kind of mess up the works.
No, I agree. I agree. So how do you, how do you explain some of this stuff? I mean, to somebody who has a very religious mindset. No, it was done in 7 days. This is the way it is. All you have to do is a mere thought, and it was there. Essentially, you're still saying it's pretty much a mere thought, but it had a much bigger process, and it can be dissected.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I have a neighbor who's very strict, religious views like that, and we have discussions over the fence, just like in a TV show.
That's right.
I was going to say Mr. Wilson. Yeah.
And Mr. Wilson. And we have some great discussions. And all I try to say is, hey, look, it's okay to believe exactly the way you want to believe it. That the important thing is, for any religion, why there's so many and they can all work. It's not that this one or that one is wrong or whatever. It's a way for you to have a personal relationship with God. That's what he wants. You could be Hebrew, you could be Baptist, you could be Catholic, Hindu. That doesn't really matter. The thing you're worshiping that you call this name, it's God. I don't care what Krishna or Ra or whatever name. There's heavens there. There's an Egyptian heaven. There's a Incan heaven.
It's pretty much what you want it to be.
You need to have a personal relationship. Everyone.
Right.
That's what God wants, to have a personal relationship with you. And so, fine. If that's what it takes, you want to believe it was in 7 days,
But science is different.
Yeah, science is different. There's proof that, billions of years it took to make this planet and so forth. So, and you could say time, you can certainly make the argument that time over there, 1 day is 1 billion years or something.
True
if
enough.
You really need to make that fit.
True enough.
But that's just part of the misinterpretations and things, and getting tied up in those details that really aren't right, and that that's why you would say religion is being blind by ignoring the scientific facts, which I don't do. I acknowledge that the Earth really, according to our time scale, was not made in 7 days. No.
Right. No. So let's touch a little bit more on the whole intelligent design thing. That's fascinating. So you're saying that's basically you're talking aliens, you're talking angels, this is all formed basically by what you call a sun source.
Yeah, the sun source is just what aliens have called it, and some spirit beings, but it's the neutronium cores.
Right.
They see this. The neutronium core is so dense, and it has such a strong gravitational field, so that as it's spinning and it goes into a big cloud of hydrogen out there, it rapidly gathers it in the atmosphere. The hydrogen is rotating around it because of the drag effect, which Einstein predicted, and which is verified in that case, because not only is this thing a heavy gravitational field, but the space is being twisted and turned as this heavy, massive thing is rotating, spinning. So what happens is the hydrogen just doesn't fall straight and stick to it. It actually falls and then rotates along with it, just like the planets rotate around the sun. And it creates an atmosphere, a very densely packed hydrogen atmosphere. And it's perfect because it's so dense and so contracted and so crushed together, it sets off the fusion process. And that's what's needed for a star to burn. So you accumulate the hydrogen with the sun source, the neutronium sphere, and it gathers the gas, the hydrogen, and then it kicks off when it gets enough. The fusion starts. The fusion process starts, and hydrogen is fused and bonded into helium, and then the elements are created, one after another, until that system becomes unstable, because the more the bigger the elements, the hotter it burns. So like when you switch over to helium, the sun's going to burn a lot hotter. Then that pressure going out is going to out. And in some cases, it turns into a red giant. In other cases, a supernova. And it blows off the atmosphere, leaving behind the thing that was always there in the first place, the neutronium core, or the sun source. All the stars have this. This is the sensible explanation for how stars are born, and even the Earth. So what I'm saying is, more than likely, there's a golf ball sized sphere of neutronium inside of the Earth, and it's spinning around. Maybe it's a basketball size or whatever, creating fusion here in the center of the Earth. So when I thought about that, I said, well, if that's true, we should be seeing neutrinos coming out of the center of the Earth. So I used the mighty powerful internet, looked around, and sure enough, I found a Japanese scientist who turned a neutrino detector inward because he suspected there might be neutrinos coming out of the center of the Earth, and he detected them.
Oh, he
so
found it.
Nuclear process is going on in the center of the Earth, and it takes a lot of gravitational strength to create fusion. And look at the evidence is here. Where did all the water on this planet come from? Where did every element come from? I'm saying they were made right here. They didn't just fall from rocks from outer space, which most of the time when they do, they're made of iron.
So you're saying it came from within?
We made this planet, formed everything we needed. Again, a nifty, ingenious design so that you can have life. You need all the elements. You just can't have iron and silicon. I mean, you're not going to get life off the ground with that. All the elements have to be manufactured on that planet in order for it to have a chance to evolve and, over billions of years to generate life. You need all the chemicals and so forth to make life happen. The way to do that is through the intelligent design created by the creator, the one who basically intends this through what I say in the book. I call it the power of intention. That's the greatest power in the universe.
Right.
Yeah. I have a question from the chat room, if that's okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Zachman, hey. He writes, I have one question for Mark. If time is non-existent, what unit of measurement do multiple dimensions use to catalog events? Do they also run on the same frequency? Why or why not?
I think that from what I'm hearing, again, from NDEs and sometimes mediums and such, as well as my own thinking on it, is that the multiple dimensions are at higher or lower frequencies. Our plane here, our existence, is one of the lower frequencies. But if you want to tune into another dimension, you have to, and generally speaking, you have to go and create a higher vibration in the space to create the portal opening. So how is that done? Well, it just so happens that we have invented here on the Earth a thing called metamaterials. And metamaterials, I did my research to find them and make sure that they existed. Found them on ResearchGate. They were made by material scientists. And the reason that they created metamaterials was to manipulate two properties of space, permittivity and permeability. If you can reduce those things within the metamaterial, which they have claimed they have succeeded in doing, then when you shine light into that, or an electromagnetic radiation of radio waves or whatever, that particle will come out of that metamaterial, will travel within that metamaterial beyond the speed of light. And if you make it to zero, which they claim they have done, they're claiming in these articles on ResearchGate that they have achieved infinite speed of light in that material. Well, that's just what you need to make a Stargate. And you build something called it's a lens, fractal lens, which they are building now. You pass the light through that, and you can make excruciatingly high frequencies. Just what you need to open Stargate portals. Because when that particle of light comes out of that frame of that Stargate, and these fractal lenses, it literally hits the air and creates an electromagnetic shock wave at an extremely high frequency. Now, all you have to do is tweak the permittivity and permeability electrically in that material, and you can tune it like a radio to different dimensions. This is what I believe that our government has already achieved.
That's really fascinating, actually.
Mark, are you busy this weekend? Because Michelle and I are going to build Stargate, and we need a little assistance.
Yeah, we could come.
We need someone to make sure we come back.
Yeah, you walk through. I would imagine you just walk, just like on a TV show. It's just.
Can you imagine?
It opens up, and you're seeing a different place. You step through it. As long as the gate remains open, you can come back in. They turn it off, and you're on the other side.
Remaining open. And where do you end up? Like, it's not like you can go and
do you pick a time period like on Back to the Future?
Apparently, there's probably a whole bunch of mathematics and physics that you can, once you know how to do this, well, if we tune it to this, we'll get this. If we tune it to that, we'll get that effect. That, I would think would be such an interesting job to be able to say, hey, I'm the guy that makes the radio, the tuner for the Stargate. So I know if we
I think it'd be really cool.
Zach Van asked he said, can I join you folks on that Stargate adventure? I go, absolutely. We'll pick you up along the way, Zach.
Yeah,
once we figure out how to get there. I think it's really cool if that could happen. I mean, who doesn't want to go,
absolutely.
Can you imagine not having to wait for your seat to be called on a plane?
Yeah, if we had to get off the planet in a hurry, that might be the most efficient way to do it. Just everybody just starts, walking through there. Let's say we have like 10 years to get this done. We build 50 of these things, and then just people are going. They're taking supplies, whatever they need to go to the new planet.
The key, though, is not, what if you don't know where you're going? You can end up in a more hostile environment than what you're coming from.
I want to stay and just, battle it out. Yeah.
I'm sure that the Earth, the USA or whatever, have sent out probes to other planets using the slip wave technology I talked about in the other show, where you can go beyond the speed of light. The first thing I would do is not send people. I would send probes. Go this star system, take pictures of the planet, go into the atmosphere, measure the atmosphere, take pictures of what it looks like, get the weather readings, come back and tell me. And you can do this in real time. It may take 20, 30 minutes to get there, 20, 30 minutes to get back. So you're sending out hundreds of probes all over the place to all the nearest stars. So you can see which ones have planets that we might be able to go to in an emergency. Then people there, then you got to, make an agreement with them. Hey, is it all right if we come here? Our planet is dying.
Well, they say that's where some of the extraterrestrials that visit us now come from, dying planets. Some people believe that extraterrestrials are us from the future, like 2 million years ahead or a million years ahead. Like, it's just, we can only theorize,
Right. There's a lot
what
of
is what.
speculation in our business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
they say the Greys are like 10 million years ahead of us.
yeah, at least. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that.
Imagine where our technology would be in 10 million
I
years.
sometimes like to believe that the technology is there, just the government's not letting us use it.
That I agree with that
That's
too.
probably
I also agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's talk, because I mean I can jump back a little bit, which I mean I can do if we have time, for intelligent design and neutron decay and such. But I'm more intrigued right now with your stellar converter. I'm thinking, before we run out of time, I definitely want to touch on that.
Yeah.
While we're on aliens.
Yeah. I invented that idea or that technology in my head late at night, same way, because I saw a problem. I saw the Earth falling into the Great Attractor, and I says, I wonder if there's a way we could fix that and prevent that from happening. So I says, well, in order to prevent that from happening, I have to deconstruct the black hole that we're heading at, and say, well, how could I undo a black hole? Well, first of all, we need to get there in a hurry, way ahead of when we arrive at the solar system and it crashes into it. And to get there quickly, which we can do with a slipwave bias drive technology, then we use the device I call the stellar converter, which is basically concentric rings of magnets mounted in like a cylinder form. And these are superconducting coils. We have power supplies built into it from this technology that is used in, and I don't know what that technology is yet, but apparently aliens have succeeded, and we will use that technology or something similar to generate the power needed to drive these coils. So you take these coils and you can make them, let's say, each coil a mile around, and you do, let's say, 20 of them. So you take this big thing and you fly it out. You take 2 of them. You go one on the North Pole and one on the South Pole. That's the place that's not spinning the most. I mean, you can't put it in on the equator because the thing is rocketing around. And as you go in with the stellar converter and you contact the neutronium material with the anti-gravity field, the gravity that's holding it together releases, and now you have this super powerful stream funneling up the shaft of the cylinder. And so you'd be shooting this death ray that would be spinning around. That's not practical. You don't want to do that. So you got to go at the poles. So it stays basically in one place, and then you lower them down till you contact the neutronium material. And once the magnetic field hits it, there'll be a ferocious release of neutrons up the North and South Pole out of this. And I draw pictures of it in my book to show you how it looks. And what looks like that we see in outer space when we use our telescopes in far distant places is a phenomenon called can't think of the name. Quasars. Quasars have these beams shooting out of these poles of black holes, and they claim that they've measured it, and they say, hey, for some reason we're detecting enormous magnetic fields at the poles of these black holes. How they're getting there, it's highly speculative. My guess would be probably an alien race mining a black hole, because when you do this, what you get is something very useful again. You not only eventually drain that black hole dry, but you return it to neutron particle beams, pure neutrons shooting into outer space, which eventually, within 15 minutes, turns to hydrogen. And now you can make new stars with that material. All you have to do is guide it to another neutron sphere, gathers the hydrogen, and you have a new star. So you can start over. You know, you got to think way ahead here, because we're talking, it still takes billions of years to make new stars. But if we were to get rid of the great attractor, then we could prolong our lives here beyond, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. I mean, if it can be done, sure.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a nifty idea. Don't know if we should actually do it. Don't know if we should attempt to do it, because you're messing with the natural order of intelligent design. So you're trying to modify the design that basically they're all supposed to be correct. Everything is supposed to be regathered. If you don't regather it, then the universe eventually goes cold. You have to restart the universe, and the only way to restart it is to gather everything up again and create another Big Bang. So this can all start over eternally, so that now we can be born on new stars and be, you know, that are created in the next universe. So this cycle just keeps going on for eternity. So it was just a nifty idea that I thought, yeah, it would be a great idea. We can make
let's just do that. That sounds so
That's
simple.
what a stellar converter
Just going to kickstart everything back up, and
it's pretty much beyond anything that anybody is even dared to imagine. It's using a technology we still don't acknowledge exists, which is anti-gravity technology. But hopefully, you know, we'll wake up to that. And in my book, I'm asking people, it's time to take action. Do the experiments I talk about in this book with magnetism prove that magnetism can be used to shield gravity and can be used for thrust, anti-gravity, and then we can get busy building starships. So I put it out there. I'm confident.
Do you think we already have starships up there? I mean, let's face it, you know, reverse engineering. Do you think they're?
I'm sure that we have built them already. You know, have I seen them? No.
Right. I've seen quite a few. I just don't know whose they are.
I mean, I saw one in front of our house, my wife and I, but I couldn't make out much. It was an oblong shaped thing. It's very dark, and the lights on that thing were extremely bright.
Like a cigar.
Yeah, it was kind of like a cigar, but I don't want to say a football, but it's kind of in between the two. It was unfortunately very dark, and when they shine those lights, it blinds you so that you really can't make out much.
Right. Yeah, it's still interesting, though. It's still interesting. You would think with this technology, if you can figure this out, and we're in the solar system, there's other universes and solar systems within this universe. Why hasn't ET figured out how to stop it? Do you think they care? Do you think it's just even maybe they have their own plan?
I think that they know ETs are not only more technically advanced, they're more spiritually advanced. In other words, they have psychic abilities well beyond what we have. And when you can connect to the source like they can, they know probably have said, hey, there's no real need to mess with the natural order of things. It doesn't matter if this universe dies or whatever, because
easy for them. They got a ship and they can take off.
Well, yeah, certainly, there'll be people, if this universe continues to collapse like it is now, maybe in another 10 or 15 billion years, they'll be in the ships away from the big giant black hole, but it's going to go kaboom again. And
I know. That's true.
What are they going to do? They're going to be sitting in outer space waiting billions of years for the first stars to be born again. It's not really practical, but maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. That's really speculating. That's really bending the mind out there to, try to imagine that possibility. But, nobody physically lives forever. That's not our design. Everything here is designed to terminate at some point.
Right.
And so is the universe. So maybe the stellar converter will never be something that is ever implemented. And if it is, it'll probably take multiple civilizations to do it. A lot of resources are going to be necessary in order to make this thing work.
So then let's go back to the question of God. God creates all of this, and it's a pretty big implementation when you think about it. Why would he then, just watch it disappear? Is it evolution? Is it, survival of the fittest? Is it just let nature take its course also with, this bigger plan maybe?
The cyclic design of the universe, that's the design. I think it's a perfect design. The physical realm needs to be a finite thing in order for there to be a cycle that can be extended infinitely. I don't see it as something that he needs to fix, or there's any sort of a right or wrong about it. It's, for one thing, very important thing to consider is that just because we die physically, we don't die.
We don't die. No, which to me is really the perfect design.
It's okay. It's okay that the Earth is going to end someday. It's okay, because you know what? We'll be born on another planet. And I'm sure there's one being formed for us right now. What time is up here? Either we get off this planet with starships, or we perish, and then we're all reborn, in another species, or God knows what we'd look like. There's probably a great design variance in design. 3 arms, 2 heads, whatever.
But I mean, realistically, humanity, that is the perfect design. With spiritually speaking, not obviously physically speaking, because the world is pretty messed up most of the time. But from the spiritual standpoint, maybe we are the perfect design, because we live on.
Personally, you are the perfect Michelle. You are the perfect Amelia.
Right.
You can't beat it. You can't beat you. Your design is perfection. My design is perfection. Everything is just as it's supposed to be.
Right.
There's no accidents here. And that's what Father Rick Wendell said. There is no accidents. Everything is by design. And you do have free will.
I believe in that.
Yeah.
I believe in free will and destiny, and so many paths are written a certain way. I also believe in God, but
Well, I can't please everybody in the chat room, so it's just,
just saying. But I'm glad that you know us so well.
I know. But no, I agree, and I think science has gone leaps and bounds. I mean, you look at even science. Like scientists have even come out and said, no, we do believe that the essence lives on, that, and it's kind of nice to hear science say that, because most of us all know, that no, we move on.
I know not all scientists are atheists. I don't know what percentage is, but some agnostic, there's some atheists, and there's some very religious. I've met some physicists that are very religious.
Yes.
And that's fine. I just think it would be
Can you mix the both? Can you mix the both?
Well, it's a reality. They are mixed, and they just do their jobs the best they can, and don't let that kind of stuff mess with them, their egos or whatever. They get along, and they you just be accepting. Okay, this is where they're at, and I'm not going to change their mind, and unless they have a personal experience like you guys with NDEs, something similar to that, which changes you like that.
Oh my God, does it ever?
There's nothing like a real life personal experience, a spiritual thing to get your attention and get you thinking right.
It puts you in the right place, that's for sure. It makes you want to, at least with mine, it made me want to come back and help as much as I could. But
that's just this. I think that that is really what it's about, is about helping other people and paying it forward, and the law of one, and service to others, not service to self. That seems to be something that a lot of people don't grasp, and we'd probably be a better place if we did.
Oh,
I've
especially
spent
now.
I spent 18 years helping people, never charging, always giving countless hours in a week. And people often say to me, how can I want to repay you? How can I pay you? And my comment is always pay it forward. Pay it forward, whether it's a smile to somebody, whether, you want to go in and, donate your time to somebody else. Like, just keep the cycle going. Leave the world a better place than how you left it, than what you came from. But I love seeing seeing the technology catch up. I guess that's probably the best way.
It's a great validation for us, anyways. It's nice.
Yeah.
It is nice,
Yeah.
but so as we near, of course, the end of the show, tell everybody what you have coming up, how to promote yourself, and just put yourself out there.
Well, you can buy my book. You can go to my website, or you can go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. My website is www.super-relativity.com. And then I have links there to either go to Amazon, or you can order a copy, a signed copy from me, as long as the supply lasts. And so there's two ways to get the book. And looking forward to writing the new book, which is going to be a spiritual book.
Nice.
You have to let us know when you do that.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't take me 4 years like it took me. Probably a year.
That's a lot of research.
Because this is going to be just straight, recounting all the special moments, all the spiritual encounters and experiences, just putting them in order, telling you what I experienced and so forth, and how it felt, and what I interpreted, because you want to get all that stuff in there to make sense of what's happening. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and keeping busy, finishing this research paper so that I can document the theory of super relativity properly. And that's where we're at right now.
I love it. And as always, I knew the show was not going to be, I knew it was going to be informative, and it just went off in many different directions. And again, super informative. And I thank you for coming on. It was such a pleasure having you join us. And again, it's exciting, but when you don't have that kind of a scientific mind, you're like, how is it going to be exciting? But I knew you would explain it in a way that, it's really freaking exciting. So
it is, because you're learning about foundational truth, and you're curious. Most people are very curious, and then I try to make it very mechanical and understandable, layman terms, or it's useless. If I just started spouting equations and big words,
we would have been like this.
See, where were you during high school physics? I actually may have done well in that class and not drop my average.
I know.
Wasting my time doing nonsense in high school.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. And I said, thank you for joining us. Let us know when you have the new book, because I think that would be a really interesting topic,
Yeah, well, there'll be plenty to talk about. There's a lot of adventures, spiritual stuff that you guys are very interested in. So
very cool. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Well, thank you. And if you've never used the SoundCloud thing, the only way you get out is the leave studio button at the bottom, the little X, because we've had people say to us, how do I get out of here
now?
I know,
and then they end up staying with us in post-production.
Yeah, you'll be there till morning. So
you'll be with us in post-production, and you're not going to like that.
Yeah, that's fun time.
We don't even want to be there.
But thank you for joining us. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Take care.
All right, you too.
Well, everyone, we've come to the end. Another awesome segment here on The Outer Realm. Thank you, everyone who tuned in, even in chat. And even Katie, even though Katie's in his or her own world. That's okay. You keep it interesting.
Have fun there.
You keep it interesting. But anyway, so thank you. And thank you to Joe behind the scenes, who always keeps things moving smoothly. Please remember to stop by the International Public Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio YouTube channels and subscribe. While you're there, head on over to Facebook. Come on, guys. Outer Realm on Facebook and Instagram. Show us some love. We
Right.
appreciate it. That's right.
There's a couple million of you here. Come on.
Right? So, but anyway, if you'd like to see a guest or a topic, or perhaps you'd like to be on the show, please email us at theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com, theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com. Now, tomorrow night, we welcome back Mr. Darcy Weir to the show, and joining him will be Shane Carson and David Ellis, and they will be discussing their film/documentary Sasquatch Among Wild Men. It's been getting really great reviews, and I think we might even have some sound recordings to share.
Too cool.
Yeah, how many of that do you hear? Like big Sasquatch, and anyway, I think it'll be fantastic. So we'll see you back here tomorrow night, guys, same time. Have a good night.
Here we are in the Writers and Illustrators of the Future Lounge at the Author Services Building in Hollywood. It contains a gallery of the writer and illustrator judges, a selection of the awards the contests have received, a library containing novels and art books published by winners and judges, and a selection of photos of some of our beloved keynote